Ryan Reynolds sees a homeless veteran and decides to make a life-changing difference. You won't believe what happens next. Ryan's car moved through the streets, his eyes caught sight of a homeless veteran sitting on the sidewalk. He was wrapped in a worn-out blanket, and beside him was a cardboard sign that read, "I am a veteran. Please help." The sign stood out among the crowd, and Ryan's attention was immediately drawn to the man. The cold air and busy city couldn't hide the pain and struggle of the veteran sitting there. Ryan immediately told his driver to pull over when he saw the homeless veteran. His bodyguard and security team looked at each other, confused by the sudden stop. Ryan didn't hesitate and stepped out of the car, walking towards the man sitting on the sidewalk. Unlike most people who just passed by without noticing, Ryan made sure to approach with care. The winter air was biting, but Ryan wasn't concerned about the cold. He focused on the man in front of him. The homeless veteran, John, looked up, startled by Ryan's approach. He seemed unsure and taken aback, as it wasn't often that anyone stopped to talk to him. John stayed seated, holding his blanket tightly around his shoulders, trying to keep warm. His eyes showed a mixture of surprise and disbelief at the sight of Ryan Reynolds, a famous actor, walking up to him on the streets. Ryan smiled gently and knelt down so he was at eye level with John. He didn't speak loudly or with any rush. Instead, he spoke in a calm and compassionate voice, trying to make John feel at ease. "Hey there, what's your name?" Ryan asked kindly. John blinked a few times, as if not quite believing someone was talking to him. His voice was low and shaky when he answered, "My name is John." He didn't seem to know how to react, unsure if Ryan was just another person passing by or if he really cared. Ryan patiently waited for him to say more, showing through his body language that he wasn't going anywhere until he knew more about John's story. John's voice shook as he began to speak. "I'm a veteran," he said quietly, looking down at his hands. "I served in Afghanistan." He paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. "The war was tough. We lost a lot of good men out there. Every day was a fight, just trying to survive." His eyes filled with sadness as he spoke of the friends he had lost. "I still think about them all the time. It's hard to forget." Ryan listened quietly, his expression serious and compassionate. John continued, his voice growing softer with each word. "When I came back, nothing felt the same. It was like I was a stranger in my own country. I thought I could go back to my old life, but I couldn't. My family, they turned away from me. They said I was a burden." John's voice cracked as he spoke, and for a moment, he seemed to lose his strength. "I lost my job, I lost my home," he went on. "I ended up here, on the streets. And no one cared. No one even looked at me. It's like I was invisible." His eyes began to water as he spoke, remembering the harsh reality he faced every day. John took a deep breath before sharing one of his most painful memories. "Last winter, there was a man sleeping next to me on the streets. He was a Vietnam veteran, just like me. That night, he froze to death. I woke up and he was still lying there, wrapped in his blanket, but he was gone." John's voice trembled as he whispered, "I didn't know what to do. I was scared it could be me next." Ryan listened carefully, his face showing clear signs of empathy as John spoke. Every word John said seemed to touch him deeply. Ryan's eyes were full of concern, and his posture was one of understanding. It was clear that Ryan wasn't just hearing the words, but truly feeling the pain and struggle that John had gone through. The cold wind didn't seem to matter to Ryan, he was completely focused on John's story. After John finished speaking, there was a brief silence. Ryan looked at him, his heart heavy with the weight of what he had just heard. Without a word, Ryan sat down next to John on the cold sidewalk. He didn't say anything at first, just sat quietly, making sure John knew he wasn't alone. Then, Ryan gently placed a hand on John's shoulder, a simple gesture of comfort and support. Ryan's voice was steady but filled with emotion as he spoke to John. "You fought for this country," he said, looking him in the eye, "and now this country needs to fight for you." The sincerity in Ryan's voice made it clear that he wasn't just offering empty words. He was deeply moved by John's story and genuinely believed that things needed to change for veterans like him. John looked at Ryan, his eyes a mixture of disbelief and hope. For the first time in a long time, someone had shown him real care. Ryan's words seemed to lift a small part of the heavy weight John had been carrying. Ryan's presence wasn't just comforting, it was a promise that things could be different. Ryan didn't waste any time. He pulled out his phone and quickly started making calls. He knew John needed help right away, and he wasn't going to wait. First, Ryan arranged for a hot meal to be delivered to John. A few minutes later, a steaming bowl of soup and a sandwich were brought to him. John looked at the food, unsure at first, but his eyes filled with gratitude. It had been so long since he had a warm meal, and the sight of it made him emotional. Ryan didn't stop there. He knew that John needed more than just food. He immediately called for a doctor to come and check on John's health. Within moments, a doctor arrived to give him a quick checkup, making sure he was okay and had the care he needed. Ryan stayed by John's side, making sure he was comfortable and didn't feel rushed. After making sure John had everything he needed, Ryan took the next step. He arranged for John to have a safe place to stay. Ryan booked a hotel room for him, complete with warm clothes, a shower, and a soft bed. John couldn't believe what was happening. He had gone from living on the streets to being treated with kindness and respect. It was almost like a dream. As Ryan's team helped John settle in, John couldn't hold back his emotions. Tears filled his eyes as he realized what Ryan had done for him. This wasn't just about a hot meal or a place to stay, it was about restoring his dignity. For the first time in a long time, John felt cared for and hopeful. Ryan's unexpected gesture was changing his life, and John couldn't thank him enough. The next day, Ryan took John to meet with a local veterans organization. This group helped homeless veterans like John rebuild their lives. Ryan introduced John to the representatives, who explained all the support they could offer. They provided housing, job training, and counseling to help veterans get back on their feet. Ryan made sure to tell the representatives that John would have full support. He personally covered all of John's expenses for the first year, so John didn't have to worry about money. Ryan wanted to make sure John had a fresh start, without the stress of financial problems. John listened in disbelief as the representatives talked about the help he would receive. He couldn't believe how much was being offered to him. After everything he had been through, this was like a miracle. He never expected to find such kindness or support. John had been struggling on the streets for so long, feeling forgotten and alone. But now, thanks to Ryan's actions, he had hope again. The representatives assured John that they would be there for him every step of the way. They helped him create a plan for the future, starting with housing and finding a job. They also made sure he would get counseling to help him cope with everything he had been through. John's eyes filled with tears as he realized that his life was changing. He had a place to stay, a plan for his future, and people who cared about him. "I can't believe this is happening," he said, his voice trembling. "I never thought anyone would help me like this. It feels like a miracle." Ryan smiled and told him, "You deserve this, John. It's just the beginning of a new chapter." Ryan stood in front of the camera, looking directly at the viewers with a serious expression. His voice was calm, but filled with emotion as he spoke. "There are so many people out there who need help, people who feel invisible, forgotten by the world. It's easy to walk past them without a second thought, but I want to remind you that even the smallest act of kindness can change someone's life." He paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. Sometimes all it takes is a simple gesture, a kind word, a helping hand, a warm meal. You never know what someone is going through, but you can make a difference, even if it's just for one person. That's what really matters. As Ryan spoke, John stood beside him, wiping away the tears that had filled his eyes. His face showed a mixture of gratitude and determination. He had experienced the power of kindness firsthand, and it had completely transformed his life. "I never thought this could happen to me," John said, his voice trembling. "But because of what Ryan did, my life is changing. I've been given a second chance." He looked at the camera and smiled, though his tears didn't stop. "I promise that one day, I'll do the same for someone else. I'll pay it forward. I'll make sure no one else has to feel alone like I did." Ryan placed a hand on John's shoulder, giving him a reassuring smile. "I know you will, John. We all have the power to make a difference. Let's spread kindness and help those who need it. Together, we can change the world." John nodded, now filled with hope and a renewed sense of purpose. The camera pulled back, showing the two of them standing together, ready to face the future with a sense of hope and kindness. The video closes with powerful scenes of John beginning his new life. He's seen moving into a warm, safe home, looking around with a sense of relief. The camera captures him unpacking his things and setting up his new space, smiling as he takes in the comfort of a place to call his own. Next, John is shown preparing for work, dressing in clean clothes, and feeling ready for a fresh start. His face is filled with hope and determination, knowing that his life has changed because of the kindness he received. He steps out of his new home with a smile, ready to face the future. As the video continues, Ryan's voice is heard, delivering the final message. "Let's all remember, kindness can transform lives," he says. "You never know how much a small act can mean to someone. Be that beacon of hope for someone else. A simple gesture can make a world of difference." The video ends with a hopeful shot of John walking down the street, a man with a renewed sense of purpose and hope. The message is clear: kindness can change lives, and we all have the power to make a positive impact. If this story inspired you, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories. Think about the ways you can help someone in need today, whether it's a small gesture or a big one. Kindness always makes a difference.